Hi there guys, Metal Crusader here. It's been a while to say the least, and recently I decided to restart the channel, start to make some videos again, and I figured what better time to do that than now, especially when you think about it. The last thing I promised you guys was a Sojourner Special, and last month Sojourner just released their latest album, Premonitions, so I figured it's time to start again, and I will start precisely with that Sojourner Special video, let's call it that way. So, to begin, Sojourner, I first discovered this band on a Facebook post, a forum, not sure, I don't remember that well. What I do remember is this guy um, telling that there were three bands that to him were the cornerstones of epic atmospheric black metal, and he mentions Summoning, Caladan Brood, and Sojourner. Well, Summoning, I was a huge fan, still am. Caladan Brood, the same. Sojourner, had no idea who they were, so I decided to go check them out. I believe the first song I heard from them was actually Shadow Road, from the Shadow Road album. I don't recall the song itself, but I remember that it was from that release. And well, then after listening to that song and loving it, I decided to listen to their releases. And so here we are to talk about those releases. So to start, Empires of Ash, here it is on LP format. There you go. Let me just show you around. I hope you guys could see it. Actually, don't know if you guys noticed, but they were kind enough to sign this release for me when I met them a year ago, I believe. It was in August, late August last year. Not sure. I can't recall the exact date, but I believe it was around a year ago. Just to show you, it's a black LP. Like I mentioned previously, really cool people, really amazing people. And now to talk about the music itself. Empires of Ash came out on 2016. It was released through Avant-Garde Music, and it is their first full length and their first release, at least as far as I know. Empires of Ash, first impressions I had was this amazing etherealness present in the release, which now that I think probably is like the, let's call it the trademark, if you want to call it that way, of Sojourner. It's something that I believe it's always present there, that etherealness, that almost mystic vibe present on their music. Besides that, really melodic, obviously atmospheric, and there is on this release I believe there's a dreamlike quality to it, almost as if mournful remembrance of battles of the past. You really are thrown into a journey to the past, but it's like if this past, if these battles, there is a certain sadness to them, and that, in my personal opinion, is the start of a different approach to this genre, because the both this etherealness and this mournful or dreamlike style present in this release, it's quite different to start with. What I do believe that helps them with this are, especially on this release, are Chloe's vocals and Emilio's vocals. Chloe bringing that ethereal side, which is a beautiful contrast to Emilio's aggressive tone present on the release. Besides that, really cool leads, and it's a release that I can't recommend enough because, like I mentioned, it throws you on a journey, and a beautiful one, where they look. the best way to describe it, it's this. It's this image. By the way, their artwork is amazing. This is the feeling I get when I listen to this release in particular. It's precisely that nostalgic, almost nostalgic feel. So, recommended songs. I would definitely recommend Aeons of Valor and Homeward from this release. And moving on to their second release, The Shadowed World. Here it is. Okay, let me just... There you go. Just show you the booklet. Again, amazing artwork. That's something they never miss. So, Shadowed Road. Now, the Shadowed Road starts to carve what I would like to call a bit different path for Sojourner, because there is still that etherealness, but it's a bit less present, or at least it's not. It's no longer, or I don't feel like it is the dominating aspect of the music as much as it is a certain groundness. The music itself feels more grounded. I don't know if I'm making much sense, or if you're understanding what I mean with this. But first and foremost, the production took a really good upgrade. The production on this release is really, really cool. Not that Empires of Ash was bad, but this is definitely an improvement. And there are other improvements, such as Emilio's vocal range explodes on this release. I believe he here goes from the typical death metal growl, if you want to call it that way, to the typical black metal high-pitched screams. Amazing vocals there. The melodies themselves also improved, and it's a more cohesive more cohesive release than Empires of Ash, in my personal opinion. Again, not saying that Empires of Ash is a bad release, by far from it. Just this one is clearly an improvement, and I believe they outdid themselves, especially considering that it is no longer what you can call a traditional or a typical epic atmospheric black metal release. This starts to go in a different direction. You start to feel a lot more doom influences and a lot more melodic death metal influences too. Still, like I mentioned, pretty ethereal, but this time it's no longer as if a remembrance, but it sounds more like if you're in the battle yourself, as if you're not recalling it from the stories of old, but as if you're recalling it from your memories. Something like that. I can't really translate that feeling. I guess you should listen to the release and find out yourself. But an amazing release. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet. This release is from 2018 by Avant-Garde Music, or at least I believe I haven't mentioned that yet. Songs that I do recommend are Ode to the Sovereign and Titan. Two amazing tracks present on this release, and tracks which I believe will let you know, or at least you get the feeling of what I'm trying to say here when I say grounded, when I say more... it's like I mentioned, it loses a bit of that dreamlike aspect to have a more real aspect to it. I can't describe it, it's just my personal opinion, so take it for what it is. With that being said, I will be moving on to their latest release. So, Premonitions, like I mentioned, came out last month, May, I believe May the 8th, I'm not sure. What I am sure is that I waited way too much for this release. So let me just show you before anything else. Don't get me wrong, when I say I waited too long, I mean I was really looking forward to get my hands on this. Obviously, I couldn't resist. I had to get the edition from Napalm Records. By the way, yeah, I haven't mentioned that this is their first release with Napalm Records as their label, and like I mentioned, I had to get this edition, the yellow and blue one. It's just beautiful, beautiful, especially with the artwork. It just fits. And well, if you like to collect some records, you understand. Here it is. Beautiful, beautiful LPs. Beautiful. Premonitions. To talk about the music now. Again, more improvements compared to the Shadowed Road. Vocals, drums, bass, everything that you could improve, you did. In all aspects that you could become better, you did. What I mean with this, it's, again, moving further or even further away for the black metal scene. I'm not saying, look, there are black metal influences here, and if you want, you can call them black metal, epic black metal band or epic atmospheric black metal band or whatever subgenre you want to call it. But personally, I don't feel them as much as an epic black metal, god damn it, this genres, an epic atmospheric black metal band. What I do feel them is like an improvement of themselves and the band starting to carve its own path, to make its own way, to make its own sound. That's what I feel with this release. Because again, ethereal, mournful, like I mentioned, I believe especially the etherealness is the main characteristic of Sojourner, in my personal opinion. Again, it's worth what it is. So, this release, more sorrowful, it can get more intense at certain times, and it's definitely on a darker note than their previous releases. It has a lot more technical passages, let's call it that way. I'm failing to recall the right name for that. What I do recommend from this release is for you to listen to Fatal Frame and Event Horizon, my favorite two tracks from this release. And well, I can't recommend you this band enough, because especially when you listen to their discography from start to finish, and you see how much they improve from release to release, how better they become, and the direction where they seem to be headed, you just can enjoy it. In my personal opinion, it's amazing. It's an amazing work present here. And there is something else that, to me personally, says a bit more, which is these guys are from all over the place. New Zealand, Sweden, UK, they are a bit from all over the place. Italy. So you have a lot of members that are spread across the world. Although I believe right now most of them are in Sweden, but still they are a bit all over the place. And for a band which is so spread to improve and to become more cohesive or more cohesive, it's really hard. It's not an easy task. And to improve their production, it's not an easy task to whoever is recording them. So congratulations on a special note for that. And well, personally, I can't recommend you this band enough. If you don't know Sojourner, go find them out, go listen to them. Personally, one of my favorite bands right now. And well, with this being said, I guess I'll see you on the next video. If you enjoyed this one, like, share, subscribe, you know, the usual. And well, until the next video, keep your horns up.